Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Netysha, welcome to Consulting Leaders.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's jump straight into it. So tell us the story, Netysha. What drew you into leadership development and executive coaching?
So, I started off my career in finance. It was clear it was not. I enjoyed the problem solving. I enjoyed the client interaction. Maybe the culture wasn't the best fit for me, and I definitely felt misaligned. And so I did some soul searching, and I've always liked helping people. I took a course in coaching. This was back in 2007, before coaching really was more established. And then the financial crisis happened, and I ended up going to business school. And I was trying. It was difficult to. They say in business school you don't want to try to change geography, function, and industry. And if I went from finance into coaching, it would have definitely been all three. And it was also a very difficult market. So I just felt like signs were pointing that wasn't the right time for me. And I've also have always been of the opinion, and I know this is not shared by many in the industry, that having some life and work experience makes me personally a better coach and consultant. So, after business school, I landed a job at Google, which I felt was something that couldn't be turned down. And I just always felt that consulting would be an option for me. And lo and behold, one of my business school friends worked at, one of the BBM firms. They're very conscious about not naming them. They have a leadership development program that requires coaches to be on site for a week at a time. I had just moved to France, and as an American with suddenly 8 weeks of vacation, it felt a little much for me. I was young and ambitious, and so I was like, this would be a great way for me to use all that vacation time is to work on my side gig. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I started in the leadership development space more officially. And then at the same time, Google had a great program called the G2G program, whereby they had this philosophy that Google had so much great internal talent that they shouldn't need to hire external vendors or consultants for their training needs. And if you felt like you had an expertise or an interest in a particular subject matter, they would train you on adult learning, facilitation, training, and you could sign up for a few courses to teach internally, as long as you had your managers okay. So I thought that was a great opportunity as well. So between those two, opportunities, that kicked off my coaching career, and it always just reaffirmed that this is what I want to do. And it was just a matter of timing and as to when I did it full time.
You're probably the very first person who's telling me that she's taking advantage of her French holidays to walk. There is a reason why I'm mainly doing business in the US. It's because French typically, don't do that. So I value that. So tell us more about the problem that you're solving now, Netysha. Like, what is it that you help people solve for exactly?
Yep. So I work now for a larger, not larger, but for a firm. So I'm not a single shingle. And I also have reasons for that. Happy to go into later. What I like about them is they see themselves solving problems in like three ways, either with the individual, the team, or the organization. And what they need is a thought partner and an advisor to unlock, sticky situations. So on the leadership front, it could be periods of transitions. Oftentimes we work with, say, consulting firms or law firms in their pre-partner selection process and do, 360 evaluations for them. On the org level, it could be, they realize that the company is growing and they fear their culture isn't scaling. How can they be more thoughtful about that? So, I just I think it goes back to my interest in problem solving. I'm kind of subject agnostic as to what kind of problem solving I do. So, for example, in college, I studied physics and political science just because, I was so curious about all types of problems. And so I get, what I like is that we work on bespoke solutions. So when you ask me like what kind of problems I'm solving, I think like, these companies that we work with, they feel like their problems are unique to them and they want somebody to see it from a unique lens and not necessarily force fit, different frameworks and, pre-made solutions on them. And so I would say, but back to your original question, what are we solving for? We're solving for people-centered problems in a way that feels really unique to an organization.
Tell me what that means in terms of benefits. What does that help them achieve to solve people-centered problems into organizations?
Yeah. So there's a very pragmatic way to look at it, which is if you're looking at the balance sheet of a company, especially these, professional service firms, or, even a tech company, a lot of their expenses or investments, as you go and call it, are in the people. And so if, we're looking at how to make a business run better, I can't think of a more crucial component than looking at the people piece. So if we could get the people right, could get the talent right, then I think the product, the customer, supply chain, whatever will follow. So that's it in a very pragmatic numbers way. And then more broadly, I think a lot of the leaders we work with have bigger visions for their organizations than just making sure that they're profitable. They want to create cultures where people thrive. They want to feel like they're contributing to people's lives, that they're giving people careers that are meaningful. And that comes only when you thoughtfully take a look at the people organization.
When you say organizations, do you have a specific industry, company size, niche in mind, or is it
for us, just given our size, so we're a company of 10 consultants. So they're in terms of scale. I mean, we work with a network of affiliate consultants, but in terms of scale, that puts us in the mid-market range. But we also have a few small publicly traded startups that have employees of 10 people. So that, it really runs the gamut. And we do have large clients as well, Fortune 50, and then it would be working with specific portions of the industry of the company, say. But given the size that we're a 10-person firm, that's our constraint. Oh, you're on mute. I can't hear your sound.
My bad. How do you go about marketing and branding, Netysha? Because if I understand properly, there is you and the network of 10 affiliate consultants. There is also the startups that you help, publicly traded or not, bigger companies. So the scope seems very broad. So how do you market? How do you brand? What's the strategy here?
Okay, so let me clarify what I meant by the structure. So we have 5 partners, 4 principals. So, and then what we call an affiliate network of consultants worldwide who are not on the payroll, more or less. And that allows us to have leverage across languages, geographies, and just scale if we're rolling out a big program. Marketing. So we were lucky. Our founders had been doing this already for, I don't know, a couple decades maybe. So they had a very strong network, proven network of clients that hired them back. And to be honest, I think we've been lucky in the sense that, I don't know, it's not luck, obviously, it's a function of good work, but that we have focused mostly on word of mouth and repeat business and people leaving our previous clients and working at other companies. And that has been very, that's worked for us. I mean, we're starting more with like the level of the principals needing to bring in, newer logos onto our portfolio. And with that, we're actually using AI to do some B2B marketing and again, just more, it's more, relationship based.
So that's interesting. What do you mean with using AI to do some B2B marketing?
Yes. So, given that we don't have, a department and marketing department or a biz ops group, we do have 3 project managers / EAs that help us out, but they're not marketers necessarily or purely. We have retained a vendor who specializes in B2B AI marketing. And so what we did is we created sort of like a little lead engine for us that took into account different signals of like what our ideal client profile would be. And then, using LinkedIn, Happenstance. I don't know if you're familiar with Happenstance. It's a network, and different, news sources. And so if there's a change in the industry that may affect a current client or by 1 or 2 degrees of separation of a client of someone who knows our client, then we get a notification. And sometimes it's a shot in the dark, but sometimes it's like, oh, actually I know somebody who works there. It'd be a good time to like touch base and let them know how I could help them through this particular transition, or just to get in touch again given this new piece of information. So the AI comes in and that it recognizes these alerts in our in the news that relates, it ties it back to our current LinkedIn network, and then we get an email notification on that.
That's super interesting. So
Yeah.
how has it been working for you? Like, is that bringing
it's
in?
very new. It's very new. We're still like testing it. We're still refining the model, and it has led to some like reintroductions, I think, or like rewarming of relationships, and like I think we only started last summer. So first of all, it takes a few months just to put the signals in and upload. I mean, there's all I don't know all the sausage making. Thank God for our project managers, and one of the principals has taken the lead with that. I just get to benefit from the email notifications, but it is a source of leads that I otherwise would not have had, and it helped me become more structured in my approach to the market, as opposed to I still do old school reaching out to people, reaching out to my network, but it gives me a little bit more structured and targeted way to think about approaching the market.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about how you take those notifications. I understand it's new, referrals. How do you move from those introductions, those marketing channels in development or established, to a sales conversation, an SOW, a letter of engagement? Can you walk us through what sales motion look like for you?
Yes. So I would say the first thing is making sure I'm talking to the right person. So letting people know what our services are, and is that person the right person to talk to in the org, or could I be given a warm introduction? And then once I get there, I truly believe I'm not a salesperson by nature, in the sense that I don't have what people envision a sales personality. I'm not like I'm not about the hard close, or what was the movie in the 80s? Always Be Closing. Do you know this line with the
So the
elephant?
name rings a bell, but I don't think I've watched it.
Okay. And but what I do like about my job and where I could be authentic is the fact that Glenn Ross. Sorry, this might be a generational thing. Um, it's from early 90s, actually. Okay. Anyway. And so, it's again about problem solving. And I think just having that curious brain, asking people what are you dealing with right now? What is your org dealing with? What are your pain points? And letting them know that there are ways that I could concretely help them. Case studies with, introductions to prior customers and just also having, role related expertise about it. And then, sometimes when people realize they do have something, they come back to us. Sometimes that, they don't have anything at that moment. I keep them in mind, and I'll get in touch with them down the road. And then, my most recent sales have really been from people who I actually didn't end up working with, but they referred me to other people. And so, that's always a nice surprise.
So I like how even the sales motion sends back to referrals, right?
Yeah.
It's actually building those relationships, seeing if you can genuinely help. If not, you still established authority, trust, and then those people are like, hey, it might not be the right fit or time, but I know someone who would, and that's how you can develop sales motion.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, we talk about it often on this podcast, when you can further build trust and basically build the process whilst selling, so during the sales process, so make them perceive the value, build a solution together with you. If they end up closing or not, you have established so much proof and authority that if they know someone, that will work. If they have a need in 6 months, that will work. And that's how you can keep on feeding the machine. So I like it.
Yeah.
Netysha, one of the things that I've learned during my consulting days is that retention is almost, if not at least as important as biz dev. So tell us a bit more about how you and maybe your network of 10 affiliate consultants go about retention. How do you optimize for, once you have an engagement, to have repeat business from that same clients and keep on delivering value and keep on billing as well?
I think there's just good client service hygiene. Sorry, cat. There's good client service hygiene, over communicate, execute well, and just, keep the dialogue going. And also, I guess it comes back to the curiosity. They may have brought me in for one problem, but along the way, I identify other things that could help. One thing we were working with a consulting firm, and it was part of their pre-partner selection process. And there was a lot of talk about, when I do these 360s, there's a lot of talk about feedback, about whether somebody, was giving meaningful feedback or not. And I just kept on hearing it enough that I was like, maybe this is something that we need to offer as a separate, line of business about, how can we train managers to be better at delivering and for the employees to be receiving feedback. So just always being on the lookout for new opportunities as they come, I think is important. And not because I'm being opportunistic, but I think like this is just where, just being curious and genuinely wanting to help. At least that's it for me. And constantly thinking about, problem solving and optimizing. I just think that there's just something natural that comes out of that. Because nobody's totally optimized. There's always something that you can help with, and even if it doesn't turn into a specific engagement, I really think like the best consultants are trusted advisors and are not there just to solve one discrete problem in isolation, but to really be part of the journey and the process with our clients.
So, I mean, for sure, there is
Yeah.
Every business ever, there is always things we can optimize and do better. But what I'm interested in digging a little bit further into, Netysha, is that all makes sense. Do you have like specific touch points, milestones, reporting on like, hey, this is where we were, this is where we are now? Basically, I think this is true for consulting, B2B coaching, and any other business, really. When you solve a problem for your clients, which is the idea as a B2B business, usually create the next problem, right? To
Yeah.
take a field I know very well, if you solve for reach, then you need to solve for marketing. Like, okay, cool, I get visibility, but now how do I transform this visibility into potential opportunities? Okay, I've solved marketing. How do I solve sales? Okay,
Yeah.
like you build as you go. Solving one problem doesn't mean you've solved the whole thing. So for you, when you help organizations solve their people's problem,
Yeah.
what's the thing that typically comes next? How do you report on that and go back and say like, hey, cool, happy days, we have that taken care of. This is what we can take care of now. Do you want to keep on rock and rolling with us? Do you have
Yeah.
like such systems in place?
So I guess from an entry point level, coaching, executive coaching, is often where we get retained. And so, are you asking like, what does the funnel look like for me? So you described like, visibility to marketing to sales. Like, what does the transition look like for us? Is that what you're asking? Or are you asking?
I mean, if you want to develop on that, happy for you to do. No, the reason I was saying this is, so you help organizations solve their people's problem.
Mhm.
My question is around retention. So to give you the full context, when I was at PwC, one of the partners who taught me everything was like, Guillaume, there are two types of consultants. Well, two types of successful consultants, let's say. There are the hunters and there are the farmers. And he was like, I'm a hunter. I love to go after new business. I love the smell of fresh blood in the morning. That's my jam. And he was like, the consultants making the most money, the ones bringing the most business in, are the farmers, the ones who are able to take an initial engagement, over deliver, and transform it into a multi-layered, multi-years engagement, feeding other teams from the firm. Like, retention and farming is where the real consulting money is.
Yeah.
So my question to you was, how do you do that? And I was trying to dig a little bit deeper into how you execute on that. I was taking the example of,
I see. As
when
I
you
said,
solve reach, then you have a marketing problem.
yeah.
When you solve marketing, then you have a sales problem. When you solve sales, then you have a delivery problem. Solving a problem always leads to other problems that are good to have because it means you've made progress. So I was trying to.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it is nothing more than what you said, over delivering, flawless execution, basic client service hygiene, which is over communicate, have regular check-ins, align your senior stakeholders, and yeah, I think that's it. There's nothing. I don't think there's any secret to it. If things are going wrong, be very open and transparent about it from the get-go. Maybe, I don't know, terms of pricing, having a longer term view, without obviously diluting your brand. Yeah, I think it's just constantly iterating on your work. I wish I had like something more insightful to say, but I think you already touched on it. It's
No, that's good. That's the whole point.
like,
Cool. I like that. Let me throw a little bit of a curveball at you,
Sure.
Netysha. Although we don't have lots of baseball in France, what would be the closest thing? Probably not much. Huh? We don't have anything. Not even cricket. What's the? It's going to be interesting because there is you as a consultant, but there is also the affiliate network. What's your number one challenge right now? What's the one nut that you're trying to crack that once you crack, you're going to take the whole thing to the next level? What would be that one thing for you?
What is sorry, just let me clarify. What is the one thing that our clients are seeing or in this line of business?
So for you, it can be anything.
For me.
So the reason I'm asking this question for context is we will have other B2B coaches and consultants listening to us. And some of them will probably face challenges in their businesses right now,
Yeah.
It can be reach, marketing, sales, delivery, like any type of challenge. And I think hearing their peers talk about how they think about similar challenges is super insightful. That's why I'm asking this question. So what would that be for you, if any, right? And how are you thinking about solving it?
The business can be variable, especially since I joined a new firm just last year, even though I'd been associated with them as an affiliate for almost a decade now. So coming in as a new principal and obviously having revenue targets and all that, the work can be variable. I think I am of the opinion that you know, rituals and doing things on a regular basis in terms of BD pays off in the long term, even if you don't always see things immediately. And I believe that it's not a matter of luck. It's not a matter necessarily whether your offering is particularly differentiated. I think it's just putting the hours in and doing the turns on the BD front. So that's reaching out by email, following up with people, staying on top of the news, being on top of what people's problems are, how they've evolved since they last spoke to them. And I think that over time, it's just inevitable that as long as you deliver well, that the work will just come like a flywheel, or continue on a flywheel basis. So it's very unsexy. It's just you have to just do the work on a regular basis.
Yeah. No, and it's so. I'm not saying that this is your case, but I think feast and famine cycles are typical in B2B coaching and consulting, just because the nature of our work is we sign like a couple of projects and we are like knees deep into delivery and like putting all our focus there. And like we do this for 6 months and then we get out and like the world hasn't stopped spinning. It has continued. We need to go back to like finding new projects and so on. But this is where to make the link back to the marketing strategy, right? That we were talking. I'm genuinely curious to know where this AI tool and like engine that you've built is going to bring, because I mean you're clearly targeting high-level people, like solving big problems. So it's going to be interesting if that solution can bring you like those qualified leads and conversations. So who knows? Maybe it's the opportunity to do an encore, use a French word, in a few months to see how that has performed. But yeah, feast and famine cycles is obviously one of the number one problems of B2B coaches and consultants. On the other side of the coin, then Netysha, what's the biggest opportunity you see in your industry, in your business, in your market, whatever it is, in the next 6 months that you're looking forward to take advantage of?
So it's funny. A lot of coaches are afraid of AI. And I don't know if it's because, I come from the tech world. I worked at Google and at Facebook, Meta. And I just love technology, but I'm super excited about AI. And our company just signed a partnership with a company called Ability. And they are a AI driven, leadership development firm, and they have lots of products, but the products that we use them for are these AI case simulations. So what happens is we will do a training, say for example, on a particular topic, and then we can let that cohort go into an AI environment where they actually have to practice it in real time. And I think that's so exciting because when it comes to people development topics, you could throw as many frameworks as you want on people, let them know what are the 3 steps to delivering feedback or delegation or, prioritization. But unless they actually have a chance to practice it, and then even more so being able to practice it in a low stakes environment, like that is just like the holy grail for enforcing learning. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about how it could be used with workshops, with facilitated events. I'm excited about how it could be used in between coaching sessions, so that the learning gets reinforced and practice in between coaching sessions. And I'm excited about how people integrate it into the broader learning journeys in their organization. So I'm excited about AI. I feel like that combined with human interaction is going to be so much more enriching. And like I said, unlike a lot of my peers, like I'm not scared of it taking our jobs.
I couldn't agree more. Netysha Santos, ladies and gentlemen. Netysha, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Well, you could go to avionconsulting.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Netysha Santos, or you can email me at nsantos@avionconsulting.com.
We'll put all the links in the description. For what I'm concerned, I believe we are now connected on LinkedIn. So, Netysha, thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was a fun conversation.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time. How